Welcome one and welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is the NFC East Mixtape volume 176. He is Brandon Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. I am RJ Ochoa from Blog and the Boys. This is the greatest show of them all. BLG, happy hump day to you, November 12th.
I did not wear the hat I am currently wearing because of the volume number, but what about that? How well does that fit? I am wearing a 76ers hat that I got at the game on Saturday night.
Saturday night was the night they honored the 2001 team. Is that correct?
Yeah, they were doing the black retro jerseys. And I went to the game with my girlfriend, Rachel, and very upset that we didn't get to see hip hop actually perform hip hop. Whoa, Bears or Honey is checking in. And they had hip hop, who was like the Sixers' old mascot, which is basically like a rabbit in a basketball player's uniform. But they did not have him do, at least from what we saw, any of like the old tricks he used to do. It is the same guy from 2001, so he's obviously older now. They did honor him at halftime with like a ceremony when he was out of uniform, which I felt weird about, and like feels like you're like fourth wall breaking. Like I feel like you're not supposed to know what a person in the costume really looks like that much. But so yeah, anyway. Went to actually both, as RJ stalls for time here, the Sixers game that night and had gone to the Flyers game earlier that day in the same stadium. So it was a little Philly sports filled Saturday there, where the Flyers did get it to. They came back from a 0-2 deficit to get it to to get to overtime. They lost in overtime. Exciting game, and then the Sixers did win, as RJ brings one of his dogs on camera. I'm guessing this is Honey. He's on mute. He's nodding yes. And maybe someone else, because he's looking off camera and talking to someone. What an electric start to the show here.
The FedEx truck was here, and that was Bear, who was very upset. This is Honey, who's way more. Hey, that's cool, dude. It's okay.
Does Honey get like upset when Bear gets upset? You know those dogs who like, just get upset by proxy? They're like, oh, I don't know what I'm barking at, but the other dog is barking, so now I'm upset too.
She gets like that in some instances, but something like this, like when somebody drives by, she's generally pretty chill when Bear gets upset. I have a few things to say here. One, let's address the comment section. Steven says, one of my favorite shows. Keep it pushing, fellas, talking about us. Patrick says, hello, RJ and BLG. So a hello to Patrick. Ted asks, why no white retro jerseys? Those are our real home jerseys. I innately, unless it's against the Spurs, which is my NBA team, but if an NBA team is wearing white at home, I will root for them, because that's what you're supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to wear white jerseys at home in the NBA. I
disagree. You're right in terms of how that's the NBA does it, but I don't like that, because that's not how the NFL does.
I also think that if say the Cowboys did what the Sixers did and celebrated like a team that didn't win the Super Bowl, you would think it was the lamest thing of all time.
Oh, well,
it's very weird that the Sixers do this.
I don't think that's unfair at all. I think that's absolutely a very valid criticism. It is weird that they do that.
Like, it's fair to be like, this was a very influential team. This is one of the most revered teams in franchise history. But to celebrate, like, you have to do, if you don't win your title, you have to be like the 90s Bills and go to 4 in a row. Like, and even that's still weird. I don't think
they celebrated it, and they didn't have an actual ceremony or anything. But yeah, I get your point, and I agree. Although I think it's more than fine to bring the uniforms back.
If it's just we want to wear the uniforms and we have to have some members of the team here to make us feel justified in doing so, then I have no issues with that. But the verbiage I saw online was the Sixers are celebrating the 2001 team. So
yeah, but I didn't see anything.
You're celebrating losing to the Lakers? Like, that's it? Like,
yeah, they didn't bring out like people on the court and were like, hey, congrats to the Eastern Conference champs from that year. I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, it would be like, I don't know, being a loser franchise and hanging like division title banners or something like that.
It would be like, Josh Harris is running the team, and then you actually have a terrible team. Which
we are doing something new that is probably not affecting most people, but it did create a bit of a House of Mirrors effect for Brandon and I when we jumped in here. Shout out to the host platform here, StreamYard. It is now allowing us to stream our show both normally, horizontally, if that's how you watch it normally on YouTube. If you put it on your iPad or smart TV, whatever. But you can also now stream this vertically, so you can watch us on your phone.
So I can look up at you like this.
Yeah, and I
I'm
can
looking
look
up
down
at
and
you.
be like, quiet down,
Like,
quiet down.
Hey, or over here on the regular one
Oh,
where it just looks like I'm looking over at you.
like the Usher video. You know what I'm talking about, where I think they were singing "We Are the I don't remember what song it is, but there's like a compilation of famous people singing some sort of song. I think it was during COVID, and Usher is like looking up and like he's looking every direction. Like he clearly was told you're going to be the center of the Brady Bunch windows, and he was like bottom left. So it looks really awkward when he's looking around and there's nobody there. So cool. Hello, Mr. Gowton. Nice to see you.
Hi, Dad.
Oh, Christopher says it's to your right. So it's up and to your right. So that would be down and to my left. So look at us. Happy hump day, as mentioned. Happy bear barking at the FedEx truck. We have not, our show's going to be on Wednesday again next week. We're entering a very weird time. It's even more weird than usual because the Eagles are coming off of a Monday night game. The Cowboys played on Monday night last week. And we had the trade deadline. Then we had a tragedy. We'll get to obviously everything. It's still awkward to talk about football on our perspective. The Cowboys play on Monday night next week. And then the week after that is Thanksgiving. And then the week after that, Dallas plays on Thursday Night Football. So it's this time of year is great and wonderful, but it does lead to some wonky things. And so, but this week and next week, faux show are on Wednesdays, whether you consume your show horizontally or now vertically.
Well, why don't we get into it, RJ? We're here on the NFC East Mixtape. We talk about the division standings in order, which brings us to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now let's keep this simple. The Eagles are 7-2. They have no issues at all. It's very straightforward. There's no nuance involved. And they're probably gonna win the division. That's not necessarily news. The magic number here, let's frame it this way. I want to frame it for you.
Magic number. We talked basketball. Now we're talking baseball. Magic numbers.
It applies to the Eagles too in this circumstance, and it's 5, which is pretty crazy. There's a scenario. I'm not saying it's the most likely scenario, but if I'm not mistaken, I do believe there's a scenario here, or let's say the Eagles win their next 2 games. So that would be, magic number down to 3 in that case. The Eagles play the Lions this weekend, which should be tough. We'll get to that later. And the Cowboys after that in Dallas. Cowboys play the Raiders next. I think they'll win that game, but let's say they lose. And let's say they lose to the Eagles, obviously, on the other part of it. That means the magic number would be down to 1 by the Cowboys' next game, which would be on Thanksgiving against the Chiefs at that point. So I guess, unless I'm missing something, the Eagles could actually clinch the division as soon as Thanksgiving if everything went out favorably for them.
I think that would involve them winning the week of Thanksgiving, which if you're living in that world, that the Thanksgiving Day game is early in that NFL week. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
I think
the
Eagles would still, so it couldn't happen on Thanksgiving.
I think it could happen on Thanksgiving though, because I'm saying the magic number would be down to 1 at that point.
If Dallas were 3-7-1 on Thanksgiving, you're saying, and Philly were to be 9-2. I think so, because they would have, to your point, they would have the tiebreaker over Dallas outright and having swept them on the season.
Well, that wouldn't matter again unless they actually tied. But yeah,
but I think that's. I think the point is that the Eagles are very, very, very likely going to win the NFC East. I think the odds were minus 1,200 last week when we talked about it. And we're talking about the division at large, but they did win on Monday night. There are some unnecessary problems for the Eagles. I don't know why they just can't be happy. AJ Brown can't stop stirring the pot in ways that aren't totally stirring the pot, but still are stirring the pot. They're still false starting on tush pushes. I don't even have the energy to care about it anymore.
I'll start with the Packers.
Well, I know, but I really did want to. I know we talked this. I wanted it to come down to a tush push that would seal it. Like, I really, really wanted that for theater's sake. We didn't quite get there. Packers kind of a disaster. This game, because we didn't really talk about it, but like, this was a kind of rooting for the Eagles game for the Cowboys. If you're being frank and honest with yourself, because the Cowboys hold the Packers first round pick. And even if you want to believe the Cowboys are going to be a playoff team, or you want to hope they're going to be a playoff team, I don't mean to make this about the Cowboys. The most likely way that's going to happen is as a wild card and as the third wild card, not winning the division. And so in that sense, Green Bay losing helps your wild card chances, but also obviously helps the 2026 first round, pick that the Cowboys own. So it wasn't totally bummed about this result. I also don't think the Eagles were totally happy about about the result.
No one's happy. I'm not happy. It was a very frustrating game. The Eagles won. The Eagles won. They might play this way the rest of the year, and they might win the Super Bowl. Like that is their performance was not disqualifying. It is, and they're in a great spot in the NFC in terms of they have the number 1 seed as it currently stands. They control it. They control their path. Obviously, I don't think they're going to win out, but if they did win out, they get the number 1 seed. They have control of that. They have valuable tiebreakers over the Buccaneers, the Rams, the Packers. Now, again, probably doesn't matter because of the tie-in there, but and it's possible they beat the Lions this week and then really put a stranglehold on the top of the conference. We'll see on that front. It's just that, and it's hard because I don't want to sound spoiled because all they do is win, but it's not that simple from a standpoint of like we can look at process here and not just results. Like that's what podcasters and people who talk about the NFL typically do, because it doesn't really take a lot of analysis to just be like, well, here are the standings. All right, move on. No, it's like the Eagles are 6-1 this year in 7 one-score games. That typically doesn't hold up. It's not the best, harbinger of success. They have been outgained in 7 of their 9 games this year. Now, on a hot streak, they've outgained their opponent twice in a row now. So I guess maybe that's a good sign of things to come. It doesn't have to be this hard. It feels like it does not have to be this hard. And that's not me saying they need to blow out every single team they play, but like they scored 10 points against the Packers. And I think the Packers
had none at halftime. I mean, it wasn't
none at halftime.
Right.
And I don't think the Packers have a bad. I think they have a good defense, in part because Micah Parsons, who, by the way, we need to get to that because Micah Parsons is even more proof. And we'll get to that, I guess, in the Cowboys part, that Micah Parsons, the Cowboys themselves thought he might want to be an Eagle, and he does. Is that like the Panthers just went into Green Bay and scored 16 points, and you're putting up 10. Like I didn't need 30 points. I needed something probably in the 20s. Like give me some kind of offensive competency. It just felt like going into the bye, the Eagles had kind of started to figure some things out on offense, and maybe that was just a result of playing the Giants. Seems to be the case now. And it just feels like they took a step backwards, and they didn't really need to. And AJ Brown, I don't blame him for being frustrated because there's no good reason why one of the best receivers in the NFL should be targeted 3 times in a game. And 2 of those times were on the first 2 drives, and then never again until the final play that the Eagles ran on offense, which was that insane 4th down go ball that they had in a situation where I'm usually almost always aggressive. And that I always advocate for going for it in most cases. In this case, there was actually a situation where the analytics said to punt it, and they didn't because the head coach, in part, based his decisions on very anecdotal evidence and not what the overwhelming analytics seem to say. So it just feels like it doesn't have to be this hard. They make it harder than it has to be. I feel like part of that is bad coaching. I feel like good coaching maximizes the talent. I feel like Nick Sirianni, his coaching staff, minimized the talent offensively. I'm trying not to be too negative after a game where the defense played awesome, and I feel good about that unit. That is absolutely something to hang your hat on after that performance. But the offense is going to be a big part of this team ultimately if they're trying to get to the big goal of repeating as Super Bowl champs. And I just do not. I think that the ceiling for that unit exists, and I'm not ready to rule it out. But the confidence level currently just is not there.
I have a lot of analogies, and that's often how I speak. So I apologize for what may sound like drifting from the topic, but it is purely the topic. I remember a long time ago, Elliot Shore Sparks, am I pronouncing that correctly? Parks, excuse me. He had a tweet that I thought was annoying at the time, but has proven to have some legitimacy in that Jalen Hurts was helping. Again, I think Jalen's involvement here is debatable, but you get my point. You will get my point. He was helping turn the Eagles into Alabama in that all they do is just win. And that's kind of what you're describing. Like, that's kind of who they are. And it's just like, oh, we beat Auburn, we beat Tennessee. Like, it's just, and at a certain point, it's just like, how do you keep that drive? I mean, and maybe that's kind of what AJ Brown is dealing with. I mean, if I have to play, psychoanalyst for a second, I have no idea. I'm not going to pretend to have any idea, but like, that's what it is. Like, how do you not become a victim of your own, just like continued success? Cause you're right. Like, they may win the Super Bowl, and I don't know how much you've seen of this, because there have been a lot of documentaries about the 90s Cowboys. But like Troy Aikman often says that third one they won, that there was no joy, that there was simply just relief. That there was just like, okay, thank God, like we did it, especially because they lost the title game the year before, and I think some of it was unique to them and the pressure to win without Jimmy and that Jerry placed on them and all this stuff. And so I do think that even if the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I don't think there'd be any like joy. I think that I would argue that there was a little bit of the sentiment we're describing after last year because they were so close in 2022. So like this is a group that's like the stress is not just new after having won the Super Bowl last year. It's been since 2022, since AJ Brown joined, since everything really took off. I'm not placing the blame on AJ Brown. I'm saying since like the Eagles really took off as this team that was constantly in the mix. I mean, you're talking now 4 straight seasons. That's over 1,000 days of just having to like day after day after day be the same. And so like on some level, I think they might be like waiting for a team to take advantage of them and beat them at their own game, and no one can. And it's just like, okay, we'll go give the Packers a chance, and we'll even throw it away at the end. Nick Sirianni will, and we'll give them a real chance to do it, and they just won't be able to. I do think, as much as it pains me to say, I kind of get the decision to go for it on 4th down.
No.
But I get it in a human way, not in a way that I agree with. You've seen the movie 21 about the MIT kids that
no.
played. Okay, well, it's about kids that are at MIT, I believe, based on a true story. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. And they learn how to count cards, and they go to Vegas and they like make a lot of money doing it, whatever. And I'm
familiar with the concept. Yeah.
Right. Their like professor, teacher, whoever leader is played by Kevin Spacey, and just regarding who's in the movie. And there's a line he says, because one guy gets really emotional because his like girlfriend broke up with him, whatever, and he's just like drunk and he's just going for whatever. And Kevin Spacey's like getting on to him. He says, "You weren't counting cards, you were gambling." Right? Like you deviated from the goal of what we're doing here, and you were just operating off of emotion. And that's what Nick Sirianni did. In that moment, he was chasing a vibe, chasing like joy, chasing the feeling or the not even satisfaction, but the like peace that would have come from converting and being like, look, we did it again. Everybody be happy. Let's get on the plane. Let's go back to Philly. Everyone can record the new Christmas album and everyone can be happy again. But in chasing, he potentially costed his team. Obviously didn't wind up mattering.
But it could have, and it shouldn't have, from a standpoint of, again, it's part of the reason or the reasoning that he used in this post-game press conference was like how they've gone for it on 4th down and other situations. He brought up the Browns game from last year. He brought up the Vikings game just from a couple of weeks ago. It's just not the same situation because the Eagles in that Browns game were up 4 points. In the Vikings game he talked about, they were up 6 points. That is very different than it's a 3-point game.
Yeah, no.
And if you don't get this, like they can go get a field goal like very quickly. Like in most situations, like 15 yards of field position or whatever, like isn't going to matter a whole lot. In this specific situation, it did matter a ton. And then my problem is the decision-making process he uses does not have like sound. There's no like fundamental sound process to it as much as he's bringing up anecdotes in his mind that he thinks like, oh, this is the same thing when it's not the same thing. It's not the same situation at all.
I agree with Brad Eclipse here. Not that I like lived this, but how Chris Long talked about the Patriots' kind of soulless win of Super Bowl 51 in 2016, and then how he felt a lot more joy with it. And like that, we saw that with the Patriots. Like it just kind of takes its toll on like that's normal and natural. I agree with you. Even if the book says to go for it, which in this instance it did not, but even if it did, to your point, other things that, and I don't mean to be anti-analytics because I'm certainly not. But in that specific situation, it's very cold, and no one's been able to accomplish anything on offense all night. Like if it's a rainstorm and the analytics say go for it, like that matters. Like that is a factor you have to consider relative to the achieving the net 15 yards on your punt. So given the conditions and the lackluster offense at that point on both sides, I fully would have understood if he had punted. But I get the human element of wanting to like make everybody happy. You know what I mean? He just. It didn't cost him, but it could have.
Well, here's the other part of that. The weird thing about because generally I'm part of the reason I'm in favor of going for it isn't just the analytics, but the idea of empowering your players. Because I think that matters. I think players should feel like you believe in them. Like there's power in belief. And you want to create a culture of that. However, this is the same head coach who again and again and again and again and again and again in this game would get into 3rd and long, which is his own problem, to be clear. I'm not saying that's just on him. But when you are in 3rd and long, you can actually try to go for a first down, and he just doesn't. It's just a give up play, another give up play. And funny enough, some of their like Jalen Hurts has a great throw to Devontae Smith on what is it? I think 3rd and 12 or something on the Eagles' penultimate drive there. It looks so easy. It's like, oh, you can just do that. You can actually just throw to one of your really good players. Or the Saquon Barkley play, which was not like scripted in terms of it was like a dump off to the other side of the field. But guess what? Saquon Barkley versus a defender, 1-on-1 space. You gave him a chance to like be able to make a big play, or he could rip off a 41-yard reception, catch and run at that point in the game. As opposed to if you had just gone into that play, handing the ball off to Will Shipley and ask him to run between the tackles, he's probably not going to break off a first down run. Like, you're just giving up. And that's part of what really bothers me about Sirianni and this offensive philosophy. It's just like, have some ambition. Like, believe in your players. You clearly don't based on the way you're playing. So it's just frustrating. Again, ultimately, you win. That's what matters. But it just shouldn't have to be this hard. And it could catch up to them if they don't start playing better at some point.
I'll be interested to see them against the Lions. Like,
Same.
I find the Lions
clear. I want to say in this game against the Lions, I'm actually less. I care less about how they win. Like, this is a really tough opponent. This is a really massive game to win, even if they look like terrible and they win it. I will have a different tune because I think the Lions are really, really good and should win that game. So if they win it, I'm happy no matter what. But in general, you do need to play well. It's not just about winning. Since
2022, although I would say more particularly since 2023, it has always felt, from my vantage point and like the collective anti-Eagles one or non-Eagles one, is that like I think of the Buffalo game in 2023, it has always felt like teams just like pee down their leg when they play the Eagles. They just make these stupid mistakes, and it's like, how do you keep doing this? Like, how does this just keep happening time? Like the Rams game this year, like, how does this like happen to you in this moment? And that was partly why I was so bummed that, as annoying as I find the Lions discussion to be on, in the ether, I was annoyed that they lost last year in the division round, because they're like the only team that is immune to that. You know what I'm saying? That like that has a chance to, not fall victim to that. At least I want to see that. I want to be able to like rule that in or out, whether that assumption is correct or wrong or whatever. And so I'm excited this week to see that opportunity. Because if they can't, then like no one can, and it will just be the same thing, and the Eagles will hate that they won the Super Bowl again. It's not easy, obviously, and I know you know this, to segue to the Cowboys. In fact, as we're speaking here right now, Brian Schottenheimer is having his first public comments since the death of Marshawn Nealon. And just for a timeline perspective of what life was like in Cowboys land last week, obviously they lost on Monday Night Football, and then on Tuesday traded for Logan Wilson very early in the day and Quinnen Williams before the deadline in the afternoon. And then Brandon and I talked about that. We talked about the merits of it and how it held particular merits for the future, and not necessarily for this year, but obviously it does or did instill some excitement for the remainder of 2025, if you want to believe in a playoff appearance, etc. And then everything just like is no longer relevant or important or anything because of Marshawn Nealon. I think everyone knows what happened at this point. He tragically took his own life, and the Cowboys have offered a lot of support. We have an article up on our site with different resources for anyone who is struggling with mental health or thoughts of these lines or knows anybody who is. And the Cowboys have done a lot. They held a memorial service for Marshawn Nealon. And the stories, I mean, it doesn't get more tragic, but just again, a moment ago, Brian Schottenheimer noted that the Cowboys have set up a fund for Marshawn's girlfriend, Catalina, who is pregnant. And so it's been a very, again, I think everyone's been very gracious and understanding, and our bosses have been very helpful and supportive for our work at Blogging the Boys. But it's been a very weird week and time, and not really caring about football and whatnot. And obviously they were on bye, but that's just like a lot of word vomit that I don't really expect you to do anything in particular with.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sad. I mean, that's obvious. I think, mental health, like, that's obvious. Everyone talks about like that being important. It's true. I think things can feel really scary and inescapable sometimes, speaking from experience, where it's hard sometimes to see the light at the end of the tunnel, to be quite frank. And obviously it can be hard to feel like there is help out there, but I think it's important to know and remind yourself that there is, and there are resources like that. And I think sometimes when you're in that feeling, speaking for myself at least, like, it can be like it just feels like, again, inescapable, unreachable. I think the reality is, which is easy to say now when you're not in that mode necessarily, is like you're closer to make an NFL analogy, if that's okay. Like sometimes when your team is really bad, it can just feel so inescapable and hard to get to the top. And it can be for some franchises, but sometimes like that turnaround can happen so much faster than you would ever expect. So I definitely, advocate for being able to try to help yourself when you can, or try to find the people in your life that you can lean on and rely on, because they are out there. And again, just take advantage of those resources where you can.
No, I mean, I echo that completely. It's like I said, I mean, and like and understand, it's been very difficult to be like, so they're going to beat the Raiders, or to even care if, you know what I mean? Like, and even I know we talked about the like which team did you want to lose more on Monday? I thought Brian Schottenheimer said it well again a moment ago. He said, we don't move on, we move forward. And like, I think that's just what everyone's trying to do, is just trying to move forward and help one another. And I think that, sometimes like comment sections on the internet can turn pretty hostile and volatile. And this was, there were different things, but I mean, for the most part, there were a lot of people just like helping one another and talking with one another and leaning on one another. And so, again, it's been a very, very weird week, even like practically, like how to handle this from like a work perspective. I mean, like what
Sure.
As you can, I mean, you and I haven't talked about like the logistics, but like it's a matter of like, what do we do? How do we do this? Like what happens next type thing. And so it's been a strange, few days, to say the least.
Well, it can feel tone deaf, I'm sure, to kind of be like, what about this when, that happens. But and I think that's fair. And that's because in part, there's no perfect way, right? Like it's life. Like there's no right. A lot of times there's no like clear cut right or wrong. There are in certain circumstances, but it's not always that simple. And I think it's everyone just generally trying to do their best. So I think, you do your best. And there's a lot of people out there who, in these times I'm sure are appreciative of blogging the boys and the stuff you guys are doing, and looking forward to, again, not necessarily moving on, but moving forward, because that's kind of what we just all have to do.
Yeah. And so, as they play on Monday Night Football this coming week, their work week doesn't begin until Thursday from just normal procedure standpoint. And so there really isn't, again, everything sounds dumb, but anything that has happened or anything that has changed within them from a football standpoint, in anticipation of this game. Obviously, we talked about the trades. The Cowboys did activate both DeMarvion Overshown and Savon Ravel from injured reserve, or at least open their windows and begin the processes. So we'll see if they play and whatnot. And that, at the very least, their defense is going to look different on Monday. And obviously, again, I don't think I need to keep repeating myself and saying the football doesn't matter. I think everybody understands that, but a very heavy game this will be for them on Monday night. And then again, when they welcome the Eagles to town, that will be their first home game. And they have tributes and things they're working on, and helmet decals, shirts, and things like that they're just in the process of, because to your point, it's a matter of like, how do you even focus on that? Like, how do you, it's just like, who makes these decisions, and what like why these conversations all feel so, silly in the grand scheme, like what t-shirts or whatever, but people heal in different ways. And so there really isn't anything else to offer on the Cowboys except for they play on Monday night. And it does begin an intense gauntlet for them, as I mentioned, and we'll talk about it as we go. But 2 games in a row, and this will thrill you, on short rest, because they play on Monday night and then come home to host the Eagles. So short rest in 6 days, and then immediately play on Thanksgiving Day. And then they still don't get, because they do this every year, I recognize, or not every year, but often, they don't get the rest after the Thanksgiving Day game. They play 7 days later on Thursday Night Football. And that will be the third of 4 Thursday games they play this year, as they will play again on Christmas Day this year, which is a Thursday when they visit DC.
Mm-hmm. Can we talk about the Micah Parsons thing? Because I do want to get your reaction to the fact that there's the supposed poison pill in this deal. That
my reaction is not what you think, actually.
That's why I asked. I want to hear it.
So the report that came out on Sunday was that the Cowboys slipped a poison pill in the Micah trade language, to where if the Packers trade him within the NFC East before 2028, that they would owe Dallas their first round pick in 2028.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think this makes sense to do in general for any team that trade, and then it was reported that, with all due respect to Kenny Clark, this was also in the Kenny Clark language.
I don't think that was like the main impetus there. I think we know how this came to be.
But like, it should be in the Quinnen Williams language, if the Cowboys were to trade him to the AFC East, but
it's not. And why?
We don't know that it's not.
It's very unlikely that.
How do we know it's not?
We would have heard about it.
I think. Well, there is precedent for this involving the Packers with the Brett Favre trade to the Jets, which was what everybody talked about. My take isn't actually anything to do with what would make you happy. It's not even a conspiracy.
Naturally.
It's not a conspiracy theory, but I find it to get a little bit Brian Windhorsty here. I find it very coincidental that this report came out a few days after Dallas traded away a pick or traded away one of their 2027 first round picks. I'm going to involve a lot of variables here, so please stick with me. I know it's going to be difficult, but so the Cowboys sent the better of their 2027 first round picks to the Jets in the Quinnen Williams trade. Mm-hmm. And as a result of it being the better one, those picks are now frozen. They can't move either one because one of them is going to go to the Jets. So my thought or question, just wondering out loud, is, why would it be the 2028 first round pick? Like, why is that the pick that is involved here? That's so far away. Like,
that's the furthest one you could trade, right? Because you can only trade out 3 seasons out.
But again,
you can't trade 2029 right now.
I know, but why would it not be 2027? I mean, or if you want to say it wouldn't have been 2026, fine. Or why not have a stipulation?
Because you're creating the longest protection window possible.
And why not have the created protection be the stipulation is it's the next first round pick after you trade him to the NFC East in a hypothetical situation?
Because I don't think you can actually do that. I think you have to trade something real, and the realest thing you could trade that far out is the 2028.
But they are hypothetically trading the better of their 2027 first round picks.
But those exist. Those things exist in reality.
But this doesn't have to
exist within the 3-year scope of what you can trade out. You can't. You're saying like create a condition where they could actually technically trade a 2029 pick before that exists. Like, you can't do that.
It's not a conspiracy theory that I actually am like, hey, look, what does this mean? Like, I'm really not that serious about it, but it was kind of strange that it popped up immediately after Dallas had a trade involving 2027 draft capital. So like, if I have to have a real conspiracy take on it, it's that the poison pill involved a 2027 pick, but then Dallas got created. Or I suppose the real answer might be that Dallas already owned their 27 pick. So 28 was the earliest pick that Green Bay could surrender. But it was very strange. I don't have a real take on this. I really don't care. Like,
okay, that's fair. But I'm just telling you, it confirms what I've been saying all along. And I think that's Micah Parsons wants to
I don't think that it confirms what you've been saying. I think it confirms that they just didn't want to what do you want for this? Like a prize? Like,
I'm saying you just have been so reluctant to admit it the whole time. It's just very true.
He's admitted it. I've echoed what Micah has said himself. So, okay. I mean, you either think the man is a liar or not. I mean, is really what it comes down to.
Well, it won't be happening now. Although, after that window, I guess possible, but for now will not be happening.
I do think, by the way, that if you look at the Packers' remaining schedule, I think they play the Giants this week, who we're going to get to in a moment. Mm-hmm. But after that, you could debate every single one of their games. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they don't have any more.
It's a tough division.
Like easy wins, and that could be awesome. Like, imagine if the Micah pick is like 15. What if they miss the playoffs?
It's not impossible. They have the 9th toughest remaining schedule, and a bunch of that is, they play the Lions. They play the Bears twice. I don't think the Bears are that good, but we'll see. They play the Broncos, and then they get the Vikings twice, the Ravens once, and then, as you said, the Giants this week. But so it's possible that they miss the playoffs. I think they'll make it still, because I don't believe in a lot of the other teams there. At the bottom of the because it's like it's right now you have the wild card teams are the Rams, who obviously the top probably non-NFC West winner will be that 5 seed looking like that.
I did want to answer a question on your behalf. Someone asked when we were talking about the Eagles as to whether or not Eagles fans should be rooting for the Rams or Seahawks this weekend. My opinion would be you should want the Rams to win that division. In the event that the NFC West winner is a higher seed than Philly, because Philly's going to win the NFC East.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, if Philly met that team in the playoffs, you would rather go to LA than Seattle, is my thought.
Yeah, but I think you have to look at it from the standpoint of you're hoping the Eagles get the 1 seed.
Well,
And
I mean, yeah, but build in protections. That's what I'm saying. Like,
but you're accounting for what could go wrong as opposed to what could go right. I think the Eagles should prefer. I get what you're saying in terms of the Eagles would rather go to LA than Seattle in terms of that environment. But I do think the Rams still, like, I know the Seattle's been really good, and I don't doubt them at all. I have them number 2 in my power rankings, just right behind the Rams.
They were number 1 for me.
I have the Rams number 1, and it's close. It's very close. I mean, but the Rams this year, like, okay, they lost to the 49ers in overtime, and they lost to the Eagles on that Jordan Davis block field goal, which is a game they essentially had won. So, like, they've just looked awesome. And I'm gonna give Matthew Stafford more benefit of the doubt in the playoffs. I absolutely am. I don't love McVay, but like Sam Darnold is playing well right now. But do you trust him in the postseason more than Matthew Stafford? No one does. That's insane to say that. It's impossible. Darnold could overcome this and be good. That team is really good. They're scary. They're a real. I'm not doubting the Seahawks at all, but I'm not when it comes to giving the team that's ultimately the bigger threat to me is the Rams. So I think that it would be good for the Eagles if the Rams lost.
To close the Micah conversation, Patrick says, correct me if I'm wrong, it would be incredibly stupid, but the Packers could release Micah and he could end up on the Eagles. They would be eating an insane amount of dead money. That's literally what happened with Brett Favre. Is the Jets released him,
yeah,
and
it's not,
and then he signed in free agency with the Vikings. No, I'm saying yes, that's technically possible.
Right? Yes, and I think that's very unlikely to be clear, but it's not impossible.
I saw Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers for The Athletic, after the game, and this would affect the Cowboys as well because of the draft capital. I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like, "It's it's not unfair to say Matt LaFleur is coaching for his job the rest of the season." And man, like that would be a tough. Like, I don't think that the Cowboys have to win the Super Bowl for the Quinnen Williams trade to be deemed a success. I think the Packers have to win the Super Bowl for the Micah Parsons trade to be considered a success. And so if you miss the playoffs, if you fire your head coach, like it's the most like disastrous failure possible. And then what coach would want to, I know that, he's the coach, not the GM, but like what coach would want to walk into a situation where you don't have either of your first 2, first round picks? That would be a disaster. And you're the team that nobody wants to go to in free agency because, you're in Green Bay.
I forget what the stat was, but the Packers are like what? Like they're like 1-3 in games where they've allowed like 13 points or whatever this year.
Yeah.
Like they've just been so it's not on the defense,
right?
So the Micah Parsons trade was a great trade.
Right.
The offense is like it's not his fault. The offense is what it is right now.
Okay, let's get to the Washington Commanders. I don't think we have much to say on either of these two games.
The Commanders ended up, they were 3-5 going into that stretch here against what was it? Who were their last 2 opponents? Was it the Chiefs and then, or no? Am I looking?
No, it was the Seahawks.
Sorry,
and the
Seahawks.
Lions.
Yeah, they were 3-4, and it was like, okay, Chiefs, Seahawks, Lions next. They could be 3-7. Okay,
no, they were 3-5 before those 2 games.
Okay, right.
And
well, whatever.
3-7 now.
They're 3-7 now, and it looked like that was going to be the case, especially Gene Daniels getting hurt. Dan Quinn, a lot of ire around him I'm seeing from the Washington Commanders fan community.
Oh, sorry, that was muted. That's my bad.
Took over the defensive coordinator role. Yeah, what's that? What are you doing there? From Joe Witt. That's going to solve everything. I mean, their defense has been like pathetic. The whole team has been pretty pathetic. Like I know they're bad, and they're injured, but they've also kind of just not even been competitive, which is a problem. It's kind of just where they are right now. I don't know, like what else. It's hard to expect a ton more. But yeah, it just feels like things are really bad for them and not going to get better. It's kind of just a lost season for them at this point.
Yeah, I thought Marcus Mariota had a really self-aware comment. I don't know if you saw this. He said something like, and I'm paraphrasing again, like, we have to admit that we aren't who we thought we were. Something like that. Which, again, was
the anti
Denny Green quote.
Yeah. We aren't who we thought we are.
No, we aren't who we thought we were.
That's what I said. Yeah, I said we
no,
aren't who we thought we were.
You said we aren't who we thought we are. So, get the tense correct. Yeah, but I think that was probably realized before this game. It's very, very rare, even though we do this for a living, not that we predict games, but like it's very rare to be like completely right about a game. You know what I mean? Like to just like have such a perfect read on it and to go like exactly how you thought. And that's I felt that way. I was like, yeah, the Lions are going to try to win 2 games. They're going to just beat the crap out of them because they lost to the Vikings. And
right.
it got a little weird because the president was in attendance, and that created a lot more discourse around this game than I think any of us would have anticipated. But it other than that, it went exactly how I thought it would go. Except for the other drama around Dan Campbell also taking play calling duties and whatever. So who knows what's going on there? But yeah, I mean, the Commanders are. I don't think they should fire Dan Quinn. Let me be very clear. But like, couldn't you see them like firing Dan Quinn in the middle of next season? You know what I mean? Like it's getting that bad, and so it does kind of feel like. I've mentioned this before, but like last year, before I started grad school at Florida, when Billy Napier like reeled off a couple wins to like save his job, and then they like kept him, and it was like, you know that like this isn't going to work, so like it's going to blow up in your face in the middle of the season, and that's what happened. And so like this feels like it has a very 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 close expiration date. But you don't have enough justification, I understand, to fire him right now unless you want to be that bold and all these different things. But I don't know how you feel good right now if you're a Commanders fan. Like I except for like, well, we broke the drought last year, so you know we will always have 2024 type thing.
They are 3-7 against the spread this year. That is tied with the Saints for the worst record.
Also, their record overall. That's pretty neat.
And their record overall. I really do wonder how the Commanders treat this offseason relative to like, is this a mulligan for Dan Quinn and the coaching staff? I'm guessing not. I'm guessing they're going to make some changes. Cliff Kingsbury, I mean, very funny that he like just didn't even he reportedly got head coaching interest last offseason and requests, but like the big story was, he turned them down. Yikes. I mean, I don't, is he going to get fired? Not the best maybe decision for him.
I think you have to treat it like a mulligan of sorts because of the quarterback injury. Like that's a fair data point, but
not if the team looks this uncompetitive too. Like if they start to look a little bit more competitive, they're just not winning. That's a difference. But if they're just getting blown out like literally every single week, then that's a different conversation at that point. By the way, very stupid. Again, we talked about this back when the schedule came out, just how, they like the Eagles play them in week 16, week 18. And I had said earlier in the show this year, like those games might not even matter. They definitely don't matter. I mean, they'll matter probably from the Eagles perspective, or from the command, like other than playing spoiler, like what do the Commanders have to gain there? And really, it's the last 4 games of the season that they're all division games. They play the Giants, the Eagles, Cowboys, and Eagles. And it's just like those games just don't even matter.
This has happened at times with the Cowboys on Thanksgiving just because of injuries. Like last year when it was Cooper Rush and Drew Lock. Was that last year? Yeah. And again, it's still just like massively watched because it's Thanksgiving and the Cowboys. I mean, we're talking about, the injury factor won't necessarily be the case with the Cowboys this year, but like Christmas Day, like Netflix is paying how much money to watch the Cowboys in DC? Like, I understand the NFL's, jump to be like, thank God the DC team is relevant again. Because that is a big deal from like a market reality standpoint. I totally get it. Like you want that team from an NFL perspective to be good. I would say all NFC East teams, that's what makes the division so great, is that they're in 4 massive markets, historical markets, significant to the country, right? Like, and so it was, how can you not take advantage of DC being relevant, but they're not anymore, which is just tough. I think we move on. I don't think we have anything else to say here.
Brian Daboll got fired, RJ. Who do you want? Well, I guess maybe we should get into that. Or no, there isn't really much to get into, right? I mean, like, why was he kept? It didn't. I was very glad.
That's the Billy Napier thing I just talked about.
Exactly. When the Giants announced Joe Shane and Brian Daboll were coming back for this season at the end of last year, I was like, great. I want them to. They should come back from the Eagles' perspective because the Eagles own them. The rest, I mean, Cowboys, you feel the same way. And I just don't think they know what they're doing. And it almost makes no sense to fire him from the standpoint of like, well, then why did you keep him? Like you should have, the break should have been this last offseason. It was very clear because you had a chance to draft a quarterback. You had a chance to wipe the slate clean. You had a chance to do it and you didn't do it. And now you're in another weird situation. We're going to be bringing in a coach for a quarterback who's probably going to be here and be the guy. And there's kind of been conflicting information on Joe Shane from what I've seen. I've seen reports that he's going to help lead the coaching search, but some of the Giants beat writers I saw were saying that they don't bank on the fact that he's definitely going to be the GM for next year. So same as it ever was in New York.
So the reporting I've seen from Giants beat writers is that Joe Shane might be being retained because Mr. Mara is dealing with health issues at the moment. And they had reported that and certainly our continued thoughts and prayers to Mr. Mara and the Mara family. And
you're saying now for the 2025 season.
I'm saying the reason that Joe Schoen might currently hold the job is to help get the process of looking for a new head coach off the ground while Mr. Mara is dealing with health issues. And then maybe when you reach the offseason as an organization, you have time to move on from Joe Schoen, bring in a new general manager. That makes some sense given the situation. I agree. Why fire him now? Like, why not just let him ride it out? And I also agree with, why did you draft a quarterback? And the kiss of the first round quarterback, it just kind of lives on and on and on and on. Because like, let's not even presume they could have gotten Ben Johnson, who was like the darling of last year's coaching class. Let's presume they could have gotten Aaron Glenn though, right? Like, just living in a hypothetical. I think if you're a Giants fan, you would, as excited as you are about Jackson Dart, and even more excited as you are about Jackson Dart and the Cam Scadaboo pairing, and then Malik Neighbors in the future, you would feel even better if it was year one of the head coach, whoever it is. Like, I'm using Aaron Glenn in this, it's a holding name here, but now you feel good, but you feel like, well, is it going to work? Is it going to work with the new head coach? Even if it was Liam Cohen, or if it was Brian Schottenheimer, or whoever, you would feel better because everything would be moving forward in one direction. But now it's like, great, you took a couple steps forward, and then yes, these injuries, but now it's like, is this all going to mesh? Is this all going to gel? Or are you going to get stuck in a situation like, these aren't apples to apples, but like Kevin O'Connell with Kirk Cousins, or maybe Liam Cohen with Trevor Lawrence, or Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa, where it kind of works, but it doesn't work. Like, you want harmony there in every way possible. It doesn't always work out like Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, right? Like, you have to have, that continuity. And if you don't, I mean, it's a tough scene. There is a comment from Calvin, and I had an article that went out about this a little while ago. Mike McCarthy is the betting favorite to be the next head coach of the Giants. I've come to McCarthy's defense as many times, and I will say the things I've always said. He doesn't get any credit at all for helping the Packers for a decade and change, for helping the Packers win a Super Bowl, for the development of Aaron Rodgers. Not to say he's responsible for Aaron Rodgers, but to give him zero credit is dumb. To give him zero credit for anything he did in Dallas. I said when the Titans job opened up, I think that Mike McCarthy would be very helpful for the development of a young quarterback like Cam Ward or Jackson Dart. I don't know that they would win the Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy if he became the Giants head coach, but I do think he would establish them. He would help them, get off the ground, get away from the kids' table, and start to become a proper NFL franchise again. I did argue he did that for the Cowboys. They did not win the Super Bowl. He made mistakes. He wasn't perfect, but they went to the playoffs 3 straight years in a row. It's pathetic that that's like super duper impressive, but that is how bad the situation was. And it's even worse, arguably, for the Giants, even though the drought isn't longer.
Real quick on Jackson Dart. I mean, we've all been saying he can't play this way. He's just not going to stay healthy. And he's been checked for a concussion in 5 of their games or something this year. It's almost every game he's playing in. I think it's literally almost every one except maybe 1 or 2. I feel bad for him. I don't want to see him concussed, obviously, but I'm shocked. No, he's absolutely going to be an issue for him if he continues to. And it's a fun playing style, to be clear, too, aesthetically, but sustainable, I don't think so. I was going to ask you, relative to McCarthy, really just as a whole, who do you want from a Dallas Cowboys perspective, and let's just say as an opponent of the Giants perspective, like, who are you most afraid the Giants could hire, and who do you want the Giants to hire? Me, I'll give you my answer for who I want them to hire. I want them to hire Bill Belichick, because I think that'd be great, because I've been very much on the bandwagon for a long time. Brady made Belichick, and especially later on, and I just don't. And here's what you're seeing at UNC clearly. I just don't think Belichick has it anymore, and I'd very much love for them to convince themselves into that. I think it's a good chance that whoever the Giants hire just doesn't work out, because it's not just the head coach. Brian Daboll isn't the reason the Giants have been this bad. Brian Daboll is part of the problem, absolutely. He has one of his lasting legacies here will be kicking a field goal from the 1-yard line. Very stupid. Part of the problem, the reason they've been this bad, clearly not. They've been a joke. They've had 2 winning seasons since 2013. That's when I started BGN. 2 winning seasons for the Giants since then, and they were very fluky winning seasons too. They weren't oh wow, they're on top of the NFC. It was they're winning all these 1-score games, and then they obviously didn't do anything meaningful in the postseason in those years. So I want Belichick to be the head coach. What's your answer to those questions?
Well, so first of all, D La Rock says, "LOL, Mike is not a good football coach." I've said this before. Like, it can't all be that Jerry Jones sucks, Mike McCarthy sucks, Dak Prescott sucks, and the Cowboys won a lot of regular season games and beat the Eagles many times. Like, something there had to, in fact, multiple things had to be very good for them to have the success that they did, which isn't the same success the Eagles have had. But like, you can't just say like everyone sucks. Like, the data doesn't, jive with that. But that's my last point on Mike McCarthy. I would love Bill Belichick. That would be hilarious.
Yep.
To zig a little bit, just to offer a different opinion. I got one notification over like Monday or whatever it was, that they are looking to, I think it was a Ian Rappaport hit on NFL Network, that they want to rekindle the Tom Coughlin days, which cool. Like, I get it. Okay. No, but not a higher Tom Coughlin, but that they were going to be expected to interview Antonio Pierce. Go for it. Like, go for it. By all means, like, I would love this. The fact that Mike Vrabel is working in New England is actually really alarming if you're a team that roots for the Giants or somebody similar, because your team is just going to chase the ghost of its past. You know what I mean? Like, Mike Vrabel is a very good coach and it's working out, and that's a coincidence. But like, it would be hilarious if the Giants, that would just, I want that to happen. I don't know what like terrifies me.
I don't want them to hire Marcus Freeman. I don't like that.
That was honestly what because like, I don't know that I believe that would work, but I believe he will.
Same.
He has a chance of bringing that culture, and he's done it at a very visible place where he's used to the noise and used to kind of navigating things and being incredibly stoic. And so I think he would be very professional. And so while I can't prove it would work, it's worked at Notre Dame, which convinces me it at least has a chance to work here. So if I have to put a name on it, I agree with you, Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, I think that there's a low ceiling there. Or sorry, a low floor, but I think it could be a high ceiling, unfortunately, which is what the very volatile option, or in terms of outrange, the big delta there. But yeah, so I hope they go with someone more of like a dead end kind of, not that kind of upside.
But I don't know who the whale is. Like, Ben Johnson's been in the ocean for a while, right? Like, he was like, every team that over the last 2 years that like, fired their head coach or whatever, it was like, we won't give me Ben Johnson. And even Aaron Glenn kind of became that, whatever. Like, who is that person? I really don't know. And even if you go to the world of college, like, even if we wanted to be haters, it'd be like, okay, you're gonna hire the guy who like lost the national championship and like who only gets to the playoff because they don't play in a conference. You know what I mean? Like, you can poke holes in that very easily. Like, there's not a real like, prettiest girl in the room to take to the dance type thing.
I think Stefanski has a little bit of that to him from a standpoint of like, people are very forgiving of like the situation, and just because he's tied to Deshaun Watson, I don't think that's really. I think like Stefanski is probably better than like he has been dealt a bad hand. Yes, correct. But also, like, I don't think that's, you can just say that he's awesome and you can't take any of the Browns struggles away from him.
I would extend that to Zach Taylor. I would feel indifferent about it, but it could work. Like,
well, here's one for you. The Maras famously are connected to the Rooneys, right? So you could say Tomlin.
Are you saying that in a way that you don't know the connection?
What do you mean?
Like, you don't know how they're connected? Or
I forget exactly, but I know they're connected.
Well, they are like just historically close, but but they're I don't know what the actual marriage was.
There's a family relation.
There is a marriage in between the two families. So
maybe Tomlin, if Tomlin isn't kept.
Rooney Mara is literally in the middle of the Venn diagram, and man, what is her name? Kate Mara, not Mara, they're Mara, whatever. But they're heir. I don't know if they're the direct heiresses, but they are theoretically heiresses to both teams. So, Tomlin would be fine, but I mean, even that, like, that would feel very Mike McCarthy like. You know what I mean? Like, Mike Tomlin and Sean Payton are Mike McCarthy. They just don't get hated on as much. It's strange, but.
That's actually kind of what they need from a floor standpoint. The Giants need a floor after being bad this long.
That's why I said Mike McCarthy makes a lot of sense. Like, he would come in and help establish a floor, help them act like adults.
His floor is lower than Mike Tomlin's floor.
Why?
Because has never had a losing season, right?
Okay, so I mean, Mike Tomlin lost a Super Bowl to Mike McCarthy.
Okay, and Mike McCarthy has absolutely had disastrous seasons before. Mike Tomlin is not.
I would assess Mike McCarthy's disastrous seasons in Dallas differently. The same way you assess Brian Daboll's.
It's not just in Dallas; it's in Green Bay too.
He had one disastrous season in Green Bay.
What are we talking about? He went 7-9, 4-7-1, 4-7-9, and then 4-7-1.
So the 4-7-1 season was the disaster season. He got fired, and the 7-9 season was 2017 when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. So I mean, what a surprise! Like his quarterback got hurt and whatever. Now you can hang a lot of things on Mike McCarthy, like their failures in the Seattle title game when they failed like 9 different times or whatever. Like I'm not saying he's perfect, but he would absolutely help establish a floor in the same exact way that Mike Tomlin would or Sean Payton has in Denver. But whatever. Let's pick some games because we're almost at an hour.
Lane Kiffin too would be.
I don't think that's happening. Mostly,
I agree, but
mostly because I think he's going to
disaster.
Florida, and I'm trying to manifest that, but I don't think that's happening.
I think Giants fans would think that would be way better than it actually would be.
I think that Marcus Freeman would work better if we're plucking college coaches. He would just Lane Kiffin's way too unique for the New York, Tiffany
and
brand
also,
Giants.
I just don't think you can do that from a PR perspective.
Yeah, like I mean, Lane Kiffin could work in the NFL. Like,
no.
I don't know what team's culture, but it would be tough. Okay. The Commanders this week are in Madrid. They are the Madrid game facing the Dolphins. So difficult to call this a home field advantage. It is a home game for Miami, so a road game for Washington. And the Commanders are 2.5-point dogs on the road in Madrid. And they're also very weirdly publicizing how they're taking all these players that aren't playing in the game. So good for them.
I'm shocked at this line, which makes me suspicious. I loved the Dolphins last week. I didn't take them to win, but they were plus 8.5. I love the plus 8.5 last week. I'm like, they played well at home. Anyway, that's just my quick Dolphins take. Obviously, they're not truly home in this environment, but I mean, the vibes there have rebounded a little bit, and the vibes are just horrendous with the Commanders. So, I mean, absolutely, give me the Dolphins minus 2.5.
Yeah, I think so. It seems this is going to be like a Dolphins beat the crap out of them and then like really flex because they've won 2 in a row and good for them. Like enjoy what you can while you can, Mike McDaniel. See, like that's also what would upset me is like call it a Mike McCarthy with like a Mike McDaniel at offensive coordinator. I would be a little bit, again, low kind of ceiling, but high floor for the Giants in that situation.
Dolphins are 23rd in DVOA. Like they're not good, but they're not like, the Titans or the Saints. They're not that
right. Okay. The Giants are playing the Packers as noted, and they are touchdown underdogs at home. I kind of like the points. And the fired head coach bump.
Yeah, and also Jameis, which we didn't even talk about. Jameis Winston starting this game.
If Jackson can't play, he's QB2 at the moment.
It does sound like it'll be Jameis. And honestly, the Giants should for the even if like Dart's like just play Jameis, let him rest. There's no reason to risk that there, especially at this point in the season. Yeah, that's I don't love -7 for a Packers offense that has really been struggling recently, and in part because that offensive line has had issues, and they just lost Elgton Jenkins, who's their best offensive lineman. So. Not loving that going up against the Giants pass rush and Jameis. So yeah, I will absolutely take the Giants here to it's a little bold to say win outright. I think the Packers still have some things going for them where they can win the game.
You have to vamp. Go.
Oh, you're leaving. But I'm gonna take the Giant right. You're gonna vamp right as I'm getting done making my point. I would take the Giants +7 here at home with the new head coach bump. With the Jameis Winston maybe improving the vibes a little bit bump, with the fact that the Packers have just not looked good on offense and that their offensive line could be taken advantage of by this New York Giants pass rush. So, I mean, where did RJ even go? What's he doing? He's left the show multiple times now where, I mean, he really didn't leave the show earlier. He was just muted. What about the chat here? How about chat? Help me out and talk to me here. I see a comment from Sensei Sergio St. Carlos who says, behind, but how is BLG still blaming Sirianni for going for it on 4th down? I mean, we had that whole conversation, so I'm not going to relitigate it here. Are you back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you not looking at the screen?
Yeah, I am, but I wasn't sure if you were muted or not.
So you're taking the points?
Taking the points, yeah. Packers win, but Giants will cover.
I don't know maybe you do. Maybe this is what you were saying. The last time the Eagles had their 3-point home field advantage eaten into, which is the case this week. The Eagles are 2.5-point home favorites against the Lions.
And yet that line was actually at Eagles -1.5. Like that opened at that. That was actually where it was before Monday night's game. I was looking at that. And then after the Eagles beat the Packers, it stayed the same. So Yeah, I mean, so it surprised me today to see that it went up to 2.5 because I like the Lions in this game outright. I just think this is a tough spot for the Eagles. They're coming off of short rest, having to come from home from Green Bay, and I think it's a competitive game because, I mean, it rarely isn't with the Eagles, but I just don't feel like the vibes are very good right now. And I for as good as the defense is, and I do trust them, they can only do so much. Like if the offense is just going 3 and out, which they are at the highest rate in the entire NFL, like at some point the defense could collapse, and it's not even really their fault. It's just the fact that you can't just play 60 minutes of defense. You need the offense to pull their weight at some point. And I don't know if they can be trusted to do that. And I think this Lions team is going to take it very personally against this team. I would hope for their sake, for Lions fans' sake, it's not this Saints thing back in 2017 when the Saints, lose on the Minnesota Miracle. And they're like, oh, we would have beaten the crap out of the Eagles had we just not lost that game. But I do kind of feel like secretly the Lions are like, man, if we just didn't lose the Commanders last year, we could have beaten the Eagles. So maybe that's unfair for me to put that on them. But I do think they're going to kind of approach this game that way and really get up for this one.
I think that's exactly like that. That's exactly how I feel. I think the Lions feel like they have to. Like last week, they tried to win 2 games, and you could argue that they feel like they did. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they're gonna like residually win the NFC Championship game. And like, let me paint you a little picture here. I hope that this is wrong, but this is the clip on November 12th with RJ and Brandon and Honey sitting on my lap. The Lions are going to win this game, and they're going to win soundly, and they're going to walk away feeling like they're the better team. And this is going to propel them to the 1 seed in the NFC. And they're going to host the Eagles in the NFC Championship. And they're going to say, we beat them. We got them. We have finally atoned. We have finally made 2024 right. We would have hosted them if we did not slip up. This is it. We told y'all, and they are going to get blasted in that NFC Championship game because they are too young. Not their specific team, but like their franchise doesn't have these wounds. They don't know better. They don't know to feel these things. I commend them greatly for climbing out of the NFL cellar, but they are now at the adults table and they're reaching over to touch the stove. They do not know these things quite yet, and they're going to be sitting there. We're going to get interviews from them after losing the NFC Championship game saying, I don't know what happened. Like, I know we're the better team, and all this stupid coping stuff, but like that is exactly how this script plays
out. I'll take it. Hey, I like it. I think that's a good take. Yeah, I do think they're going to like pull out all the stops. I think we're going to see a lot of like they already do a lot of trick plays, but I think they're going
to catch a touchdown.
100%. Yeah. They are a little banged up, so that is something to watch. But yeah, I think the Lions win this game, so I'll take them outright.
I'll take them as well if that isn't obvious. I really hope that everything I said is wrong, but like I've been that team. Like the Cowboys have been that team. Like you feel like the Saints never got a chance for restitution. The Lions are going to consider this restitution and not a playoff opportunity. And then this is going to inflate their ego or their wherewithal for the actual point of what would be restitution.
I will say, I will give the Lions, like, they didn't actually say this. We're ascribing this to them. The Saints were losers who said it.
I do agree with the Saints that they would have won. But even if
who cares?
Even if someone did, you lost. Like, that's the point. Like,
it's pathetic.
You lost to Case Keenum and the Vikings. Like, if you think you were good enough to beat the Eagles, and I agree with you for what it's worth, then you should have won your game.
And they didn't lose on like a fluke in terms of like a Hail Mary or like, like some weird field goal thing. Like they lost. They made a terrible play.
That one play. And at least to their credit, and you're right, the Lions haven't said anything, but the Lions got their doors blown off by Washington. So, whatever.
Anyway.
Okay. To close this out, the Cowboys are on Monday Night Football. It's their first regular season game ever in Las Vegas. They have played preseason games there. So, and especially after the trades, you can expect a lot of like poker chip, whatever, things like that, graphics and stuff. But they are 3.5-point favorites. That's a lot. They were road favorites in Carolina and Chicago, for what it's worth.
I mean, I'm just not a Geno guy. And the offense looked so brutal last time we saw him. And I don't think that's changing. That's Chip Kelly. I'm familiar with a Chip Kelly offense and how bad it can be at its worst. I do not like the Raiders here. Give me the Cowboys. Absolutely.
I'm gonna take the Cowboys and lay the points against really all. I would not do this against, I don't know, like 29 of the other 31 teams. But I would do it against the Raiders. Like, that's just kind of where they're at. So I think we are simpatico this week, and we're ready for songs.
Yeah,
Ready?
my song this week is by Third Eye Blind, and it is Jumper. I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. I was reminded of that song from this tweet on Twitter, which is one of my favorite tweets. Sometimes I'll just randomly retweet that out. It has like the whole we should step back from, is it at step back from? Yes. The actual handle is step back from, and the display name is I wish you would. So it says I wish you would at step back from, and then the tweet says that ledge, my friend, which I like to retweet out sometimes. So, but yeah,
Jumper is a great movie with Hayden Christensen. I loved that movie. And I believe Jim Carrey sings Jumper in some song. I don't know what song I'm thinking, or what movie I'm thinking of, but I think he does. Maybe it's Yes Man or something, but I want to say Jim Carrey sings it. My song, I have been watching a million things lately, and I talked about this. I really like Dancing with the Stars in that there's no stakes, there's no drama, there's no anything. It's just like kind of cool. It just makes me happy to watch. And on Tuesday, this past week's episode, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen, but a routine was done to Dance With Me Tonight by Ollie Murs, which is a popular TikTok song and stuff like that. So that's my song. And yeah.
And that's the show.
Last thing on the subject of watching things, and this is more of just a personal anecdote from me to Brandon. It's the time of year, we've talked about this before, where we start to get screeners emailed to us. We are technically a part of a writers guild, and so we get screeners. It's pretty sick. And so I don't know if you've gotten those emails, but I have. So
I have no time for such things. I'm a busy man, RJ.
Wow. Well, do you have any thoughts to say to Honey as we leave?
I love dogs, so by extension, I love Honey, even though she is a Cowboys fan. I'm sure
she is a Cowboys fan and a Bears fan. Well, I guess a Bear fan, but
Bear fan. Bear is a Bears fan.
Yeah,
she's just a Bear fan.
But she's Honey. I mean, she likes. Oh, by the way, Eagles Girl says thanks for a vertical pod. So the vertical audience is there.
As I look up at your comment.
That's cool. So good to know that was consumed by many. Okay, we'll be back next Wednesday, and I believe Patrick's also a verticaler too.
Wow.
Look at that.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you're watching on the replay too, if you want vertical, if you like vertical, or what's the other one, just horizontal.
Michael is all about it. Look at that. There's a lot of, I bet vertical is better for commenting. And Patrick says definitely preferred like this.
Well, that's how most people hold their phones, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch these things on my phone, but maybe I'm the outlier. Oh, Christopher says I'm watching both 2 screens. That's how you want to do it.
Wait, I need to see a picture. I want to see Christopher. If you have social media, tweet at us or whatever, Threads or Blue Sky. Tag us.
We'll stay on for another second while you gather your phone.
Let's get a screenshot of that. I want to see that, and we'll tweet that out. We'll retweet that. Because I want to see that.
Yeah. So, I'm very excited as I buy him some time. I'm going to start a book that is also a movie soon. You've read The Martian or seen the movie?
No.
The same author wrote a book called Project Hail Mary, and Ryan Gosling is going to be in the movie. So I'm very excited to start that book.
Okay. My last thing is that, look, it's a free show. There's a lot of content out there that's, behind the paywall. So if you leave a like on either whatever you're watching this on, the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel, if you're a Cowboys fan, Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel, if you're an Eagles fan, hit the bell, subscribe, all that stuff, because, it helps support the show. And shout out to my guy, Dylan, who I saw this weekend, RJ, who's a big
email person, not socials. So.
Okay. Well, fair. Yeah. Let's see an email then. You can reach me at my first and last name at gmail.com. So some support.
Shout out to Dylan.
Shout out to Dylan, who I ran into person, and apparently he said he was following BGN since 2013. That's when I started, RJ. So I mean, and he was dropping like I everyone who listens, reads, appreciates. I really truly do appreciate you all. I will say Dylan does take the cake in terms of he was dropping like deep lore about like podcast and article knowledge that I was surprised anyone outside of myself even knew. So big shout out to Dylan here. I gave him a shout out on the Ringers Philly special podcast with Shield, but I wanted to give him a shout out here too.
Wow. Shout out to Dylan, shout out to Honey, and shout out to Bear, and shout out to all human beings. Brandon, as we leave, tell us your favorite thing about human beings.
No.